Hey guys, it's Turok. This might be a really short video. I'm gonna do this with a few things I just wanted to bring up quickly. I wasn't sure if I should do this like one of those short videos of YouTube, but I just caught on a few things that I noticed in chapter 1098. So spoilers if you haven't read that. The official one came out probably yesterday? Today's Monday, and I wanted to point out a couple of things that caught my attention now that we've learned a bit more about Kuma and Bonney. Was that volume a little loud? No, maybe not, because it usually seems low. Kuma and Bonney are very prevalent or relevant. Is that how you say it? In this whole this back flashback is all about them, and let me switch that first. So the we found out a bunch of things about Kuma and about his flashback with Ginny, who was a woman who loved him, and unfortunately, fate tore them apart in one of the most tragic things we've ever seen in this type of literature or storytelling, in that she got whisked away by the assholes. And everyone keeps talking about, like, find out who the celestial dragon is. I want to know who the kidnappers are. They piss me off more. I just can't fathom being the kind of assholes that would do that and knowingly whisk someone off like Ginny to this person. When this kind of stuff happens, I can always picture some kind of asshole like the Celestial Dragons. They exist. And it's just the people who will be the middleman for that. My God, how do they live with the fact that they can do that? So, where is that here? Right here. So first of all, the few things I wanted to get over today too is because we found out about Bonnie's age. I just realized when we watched chapter when we if we go back to 1072, right around the time that the I'm trying to remember exactly. I know that's right around the time where after Cipher Pole Zero has infiltrated, and I think that's when Stussy takes out Kaku and the others and reveals herself as being on their side. But at that point, Bonnie was chasing Vegapunk around. She's chasing him around the complex, and at one point she can't catch him because he's able to outrun her. So she oh, you know what I gotta do too? I gotta put my video out here. She outruns. So what he does is that he oh shit. Well, it's not gonna go back anymore. Okay. So I'll just do this. What she does instead is transform into a form, or at the time, because we've been seeing her as an adult, she transformed into a younger version of what we were used to seeing her as, and then pretended she was hurt to get Vegapunk to come out of hiding, and then she could capture him. And so I'm speculating now that that may have been her actual age, the form we saw her in, or close enough, because she's 12 years old, as we learned in the last chapter. So the form we saw all along obviously was her, what she looks like, what she will age up naturally. And actually, that it brings up an interesting point about her fruit too. Does It probably doesn't. Does the fruit have any effect on your mental such when you use that power? Because I'm guessing no. She's probably still a child in her head. That's probably why she's acting this way. Well, it's hard to say. She's on a revenge path, but it's natural for anyone. I was trying to get at it is like, does it really matter what age you are when you eat that fruit? But it probably would be more ideal if you are like a person who's in their 50s or 60s and older, and then at that point you're like, you learn all these things, and you're always that's a like, oh, I wish I knew the stuff I know now when I was younger. But now we got Bonnie in the opposite position. She's only 12, but now she can age herself up to be anything. she's making herself out to be what we presume is around 24 years old now, or not. We still could just say it's 22 really, because we were presuming that the time skip that was the assumed age that I've read anyways. I don't know if that's just the other fans putting that out there, but that really doesn't matter then. It's just like we just say, okay, she's 22 because that main form is still 22 because there's been a time skip since we first saw her, but she's not aging. Well, oh, wait, that's a question too then. Since the time skip, so 2 years ago, that means she was 10, her real age. So what I'm trying to get is, I wonder if she still ages normally in some way. So she's still, probably because she's young, she would still be learning and capable to learn new things easily. So like when people get older, it's really hard to learn things. The body isn't the same. I think it's like when you're in your late 20s or so, there's a certain point where your cells don't regenerate anymore. So it's very hard to learn new things the way you can when you're younger. So it's those kind of things that I'm trying to get across, that I wonder if that matters if you have a power like Bonney does, but you start off as a young person as she has. We don't know when she got her fruit exactly, but we know she's had it since she's at least 10 now. Somewhere between when she's 5 and 10, she's had it. So it'd be interesting to learn how the fruit can affect someone like her to still be able to. Well, she'd be able to. Basically, what I'm getting at was she mentally grow up, because if she's a 12-year-old now. No, yeah, right. She's a 12-year-old now. That obviously means there's lots of things that she shouldn't know about, that as adults we wouldn't tell her about, the birds and the bees and other things. But she's been out in the world and she seems to know quite a bit because she had a rough upbringing. So I don't know if she knows about the birds and the bees, but she knows about a lot of other stuff. So on the flip side too, would that mean is does she if she was say an old person like Dr. Koreha had the fruit, and she could age herself down. So to use this as like the real world ideas and not One Piece, because Koreha seems to be in perfect mental health. Um, meaning like I'm thinking even at her age, you could what's that phrase? So you can't teach an old dog new tricks. She probably still can. If someone like her had Bonnie's fruit and was aged herself down because she couldn't learn anything new because her brain has reached its limits. If she aged herself down to be back in her teens, we know the body's still growing and such, could someone with the Bonnie's fruit, I forget the name of it now. I know we got the name. Could that fruit allow someone who started out in their old age to still be able to learn? Would the brain have the capacity to add even more, stack even more knowledge into the brain? What's the limit of the brain? There should be like something for people who study that kind of stuff. Neurologists, maybe someone who understands the brain. If a brain could retain a 70-year-old, I'm going to use like a 70-year-old as an example. Someone who's 70 could be aged down to be like 16. I'm trying to think when the human body really stops growing, and like 21, something after that maybe. I'm gonna say like 16. If you can age your 70-year-old back to 16 or even younger, while maintaining the knowledge they learned throughout their 70 years originally, can they stack more knowledge? I wonder if Bonnie can, like, if that would be possible. So anyways, I'm gonna pull up that chapter a second too. Come on. I think it was this one. Yeah, there she is. Um, yeah, it was just the second page after the chapter cover of 1072, the one called The Weight of Memory. And she's a little girl. Uh, yeah, that she shows up. She's laying on the ground here, and she is pretending she hurt herself, broke a bone, and so Vegapunk falls for this and runs out to help her. and then she uses that to changes her form again to be able to get him. She's able to get close enough to him. So that was my first thing. I was like, okay, well now we might have that. That might be her actual form now. Not we know she's not because what was the idea? Like Tekken 101 had the idea. I don't know if other people had this one where like maybe the old form we saw her at Marijois when she snuck in to find Kuma at Reverie was her real form. That maybe so that maybe she was his father, his mother. But now we know the truth of that. So like yeah, this is probably her real form. And now we obviously get to see her changing into the adult form as in the ideal phase she wants to use. So that's the first note thing I wanted to make note of in this little that, and then uh, the second thing related to that is a lot of people are pointing out that they think Saturn is likely the uh father of Bonney. And I want to point out that just as rereading Egghead 2, I am leaning in a way of it that we may never find out, and it may not be Saturn, because in the other chapter, 1089, Doberman, Vice Admiral Doberman, is reporting to Saturn as they've laid siege around Egghead about the situation in there that they found out, and he's the one that he brings up to Saturn that Bonney is still there, and Saturn showed like a lack of like my daughter's there. Anything close to that he doesn't show. I'll find that one here too now. So that leads me to think there's a possibility so he knows about her, and there's all this other stuff we're gonna probably find out in the next chapter or two that's coming up that may be how Saturn, because Saturn for sure must have overseen what's happened to Vegapunk at the hands of no to Kuma at the hands of Vegapunk as far as becoming a cyborg, but he knows about Bonney, but I doubt the father part right now, just because of this lack of. I'll read it verbatim here. Um, Here we go. Uh, Cause even says here, he just goes. Doberman goes, one more thing, Saint Saturn. The pirate jewelry Bonney, the glutton, has been sighted on the island. And Saturn's response is Kuma's daughter. She has no more benefit to us. She has no more benefit to us. Just leave her there. She's just a girl. And Doberman's like, understood. And that's it. That's the whole exchange. And it even shows his face. Saturn, he doesn't show any surprise. And he doesn't say anything about anything else daughter. He says Kuma's daughter. So but he must know, he likely knows. Well, maybe he wouldn't know. That's the other theory. Then maybe he doesn't know who she is. But people, what was it? Tekken was saying something about how she, when Akainu captured her 2 years ago. Well, no, Blackbeard did the actual capturing, and she, um, uh, he said something about, oh, you ran away. It was like they knew she was a celestial dragon. There's just something about this way that with Saturn's exchange that makes me doubtful of that, because he just calls her Kuma's daughter. But well, maybe that's because if it was his daughter, uh I don't know. See, there's things about like sometimes like because Ginny essentially became a concubine, and I think there are instances in real life when concubines have children for like some kind of king or emperor. They may that child could become raised and become official nobility. I don't feel like that would work in the celestial dragon system. I'm speculating that the celestial dragons merely, in this case, would take someone like Ginny as their bride because they want to have that. It's a toy to them. It's the same thing they did with anyone else. Same thing we saw them do with the Boa sisters. So yeah, this lack of reaction is kind of is makes me hesitant to anymore to at this time believe that theory that Saturn is the father. I much rather like somewhere in a comment section. I like the idea of how someone was saying. I think it was a comment section, like that. It doesn't matter who Bonnie's actual father ever is. It's just a new nail in the coffin for us as the readers to hate the celestial dragons, to realize how nasty they are. We just need to know that these are terrible people who would do this stuff, and to add the fuel to the fire of what Bonnie is about and what she's after. I think her revenge here is more about her getting her father back because of he probably sacrificed himself to save her. It's that I think it's all that and not. I don't think she gives a damn anymore about who her real father is. She just wants to get back her father the way he was so that they can live together again. So that's my 2 cents on that. And the last thing I wanted to point out too that's cool on this is that now that we know Kuma's, I don't know why I didn't think of it. Actually, someone may have brought this up a long time ago. Now that we know that Kuma was revolutionary, like I guess I should have thought about this too when we saw Kuma with Ivankov and Dragon at the Goa Kingdom when they burned down Grey Terminal. Kuma's bounty would be the first bounty we have of a revolutionary. Not because all the bounties we usually get are just that considered the people who are pirates. We got Rogers and Whitebeards and others finally, but we don't have anything on Dragon or Ivankov or Sabo. But we had Kuma, who we saw his bounty. His bounty is 296 million, if I recall correctly. It was shown during the Skypiea arc, and it is with him and Doflamingo and Mihawk and everyone came to the meeting to choose a new warlord to replace Crocodile's position, and so we see his bounty there, and now I just realized like holy shit, because when we I thought about this because when we had Kuma Jinny's backstory in 1096, I think it was. Let me check here. He's talking about he was trying to change the subject about what were they talking? Was that when they were talking about marriage? I think that was when he was 21 and she's 26, right before they joined the revolutionaries. He's trying to change the subject, and he brings up how those bounties about the freedom fighters at that time in the paper, specifically about Dragon. Kuma was bringing up because of how he admired Dragon. Let me pull that up here. Bear with me a second here. No, not that one. Oh, it was 1097. Okay, was it? There we go. Okay. No, this one doesn't say anything about the posters. Was that one of the other translations I read? It just talks about how they're wanted now by the authorities. I'm sure they mentioned some of bounties in the other version. Yeah, so either way, I'm speculating that bounty is more related to him being possibly to him being the revolutionary commander. Still, I wonder what. I'm hoping that dragons, because Dragon, one of the translations calls Dragon one of the most wanted man now. I'm kind of hoping that his bounty is like I would say at least the highest active bounty. So like right now, Kaido's technically is or was, but like I don't know if they're gonna still keep his up. But and Rogers is the highest bounty we've ever known at 5.5 billion. But it would be really cool if Dragon had like something close to 6 billion, given that it must be over a dozen or maybe like 2 dozen countries now almost. We know, like, because I mentioned several countries here, and there's like 8 more countries they just did recently. So they got to be like, what's that, like 15 to 16 countries that they've helped over the course of the last 22 years. Um, so it's really amazing that it's also amazing the way that Kuma's bounty wouldn't be higher. than that. I wonder if that bounty is related to him. Wasn't there something about him being a pirate and he he became known as a pirate after he was he gets labeled a tyrant after he becomes king of the Alabama Sorbet Kingdom, and he's exiled and he's forced to become a pirate. Maybe that's where this bounty supposedly lines up, where he's forced out to sea and he doesn't join the go back to the revolutionaries. There was something about that mentioned somewhere. I think Jinbei mentioned it back earlier in this arc. I'll have to look that up, but yeah, if that's not, then it's really cool that we finally get a bounty that's part of the revolutionaries, because we got introduced to so many of them in the last 200 chapters. No, yeah, 300 chapters since the start of Reverie, but we didn't get any bounties on them yet. You know, Kuma would just give us, Oda would just give us name cards on them, but nothing else. So we have all those other new captains and their right hand men and women, and nothing else. So that's cool if Kuma's bounty is related to that, but also disappointed that it's not much higher, because he did so much stuff in those 2 years that Ginny was uh, uh, kidnapped. That I'm sure his bounty was going up then. If they must give him bounties, right? Did they ever mention that? So, anyways, that was my little tangent on the 1098 stuff that I thought of. I'm gonna stop recording this then.